Michele McManaman, welcome to PB and Jax. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm very excited to talk about you and Operation New Uniform. I'm just actually hold on. Let me redo that because this is a new Michele McManaman. Excited to talk to you. Thank you for being here. Welcome to PB and Jax.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Randall, for inviting me.
You're very welcome. A little bit of a different intro because I want to ask, do you know what the P and the B stand for? And it's okay.
But I don't remember.
It's okay. Pioneers and builders. And I wanted to really emphasize that today because to me, you are very much a pioneer in the city of Jacksonville. And so to have you here is a direct correlation with what we're trying to achieve here and the people we're trying to talk to. So I'm very grateful that you took the time.
Thank you. Like I said, it's an honor. Whenever somebody says something like that, I'm like, me? Really? But I'm honored. Thank you for having me. Truly.
Of course. Of course. It's one thing to be executive director, which is a big deal. It's another thing to be a co-founder. You know, what Operation New Uniform has done and the name attached to it, and I know we're going to dive into that, is great. But the fact that you said, hey, I think we have something here and we're going to chase it, and you did, and you've built it to what you have. Nah, I mean, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's get into that. Let's talk origin stories here. Obviously, you thought about something that was amiss in the world. You said, hey, I want to create this. I want to help people. I most certainly want to help veterans. Walk through the early stages with me of kind of like, hey, this was my thought, and then I put it into practice. How did that kind of come to be?
Yeah. And, it's funny. I haven't told the story in a while, and I was telling it all the time because it's so important to see how Owen, you got started. And, I'm going to go back a little bit. We're 11 years in now. Prior to that, my husband and I and he still runs part of the company called Sandler Training. And Sandler is a sales management, and leadership company. And it's really cool because we were out there helping companies and individuals just get better and more effective and efficient in the world of sales. So helping them make more money it was awesome. And I loved it. And then we had an opportunity sometime into our business to just bless somebody else. I said, Pat, wouldn't it be cool if we just scholared somebody through our Sandler program? And he goes, yeah. I said, it's a big Navy town, big military. How about a veteran? Wouldn't that be nice to have a veteran come through? Now, as you know, neither one of us have served. So he's like, it would be good to give back in this way since we haven't served. I'm like, yeah, it'd be great. And we were doing a lot of work with Wounded Warrior Project at the time. So I called them up and said, what would you think? You think a veteran, getting out of the military would want to go into sales? And the woman I spoke to said, Michele, I'm not sure, but why don't you come over and do a lunch and learn and teach people what you do and then let them decide it. Maybe you can collect resumes and see if you get a pool of them, maybe you can figure out which one you think would be best. I was like, sounds fabulous. So I talked to my husband. He was like, I love the idea. It sounds great. I said, good. I'll take this one. When he and I trained, we trained different, parts of different organizations. So we were never really training together. I said, I would love to do this because there's something that just intrigues me about this veteran community and I want to know more. So I went over and I was going to teach them all in this room of a group of people in the Wounded Warrior Project group called Warriors to Work. And Wounded Warrior does a great job at helping warriors get jobs. I was going there to show them and help them understand who they were to be able to go into a networking environment and give their 30-second commercial. So I went and I did this whole exercise on how to do your 30-second commercial to a potential employer. And then I opened it up to everybody and said, hey, listen, who would like to go to a networking event with me? Use your new skills. Pro bono, breakfast, lunch, dinner, anywhere in Jacksonville. And I started rattling off all the names to these nonprofits. I said, who would like to go? Pro bono, who's with me? And how many people do you think raised their hands?
I'm torn because I think people wanted the experience, but I also think that there would have been some I'm scared to look stupid kind of. So I'll say one.
Yeah, well, good guess. One person raised his hand out of the group of people that I was training. And I looked around, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't understand why. I think that, well, first of all, it's a free breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I would take it up just for that. Second of all, you can practice these new skills you just learned. Who would like to do that? And this guy, Reggie, looked at me. He goes, Michele, I don't think you understand something. And I said, Reggie, you're probably right. What's going on? And he goes, once we take off these uniforms people don't treat us the same. You know it, right? And it was a big eye opener at that moment. It was probably hard for me to swallow because I couldn't understand that at the moment. The name Operation Uniform came from that gentleman, Reggie, who said that, because what we teach in Sandler, what we now teach in Operation Uniform, is how to separate your identity from your roles. And he was so tied, and that room was so tied to their roles and that uniform, that separating that from them took away their identity. So at ONU, we teach how to get your identity back. So, before we get into anything else, Randall, my heart, God gave us this amazing gift of Sandler training, and he wanted more out of it. And ONU is the more. He told us at that moment that we are going to start training veterans at no cost to them on how to be more confident and more efficient in an interview, and be able to use the skills that we teach salespeople, to use these skills to get amazing careers, something they never thought they can get before, and get the money that they never thought they can get.
Yep.
So that's the beginning story. Pat heard nonprofit, heard, no charge to veterans. And he was like, good luck, Michelle. I got to pay the bills. So
It's
I
fair.
started with the first gentleman that we scholared into our Sandler program. I started this with him, and he helped me create the curriculum. I called the owner of Sandler Training in Baltimore and said, would you donate all your copywritten material to us? We're going to manipulate it and make it so the veterans can get this beautiful benefit. And he said, Michelle, anything you need. And he donates all of this stuff to us. So over 650 veterans have gone through the traditional program, and we get to give it to them for nothing.
650 veterans over 11 years. And I assume that the early stages, you weren't really churning out 100 at a time either.
Our first class was 4.
Yeah. So this is really snowballed. I mean, 650, I will admit, is a bigger number than I was expecting to hear. That's incredibly impressive.
Well, and that's smaller than what we've actually done. If you look at, there are some classes we didn't count, and I can't explain why, just the way it fell into the classroom style. We started helping military spouses, and we also do an online program. And if you take that one veteran and you multiply it times an average family size, it's thousands of people we've touched. All the networking events, all the things that we've done, it's incredible. I mean, 650 is a small number compared to who we've been able to really affect.
Yeah, I think, this time next year, this time 5 years from now, I think that 650 is going to look a little small. Just at the operating
Agreed.
rhythm you guys are going. So we got off the ground 11 years ago. We have the origin story, which is fantastic. And then we decided to kind of move forward with, hey, we're going to train these folks at no cost, and we're going to prepare them for their new uniform. Early stages, I'm sure that there were some growing pains. Talk me through the first couple years. How did we reach these veterans first and foremost, right? How did we say, like, hey, this is worth your time, and convince them to come take part in something? Little did they know at the time it would benefit their life greatly. But, how were we attracting people to the program? How were we attracting people that were helping, course teach? Obviously, you bring people in. I'm sure you have speakers and stuff like that. So how were you able to attract these different elements to come in and say, hey, this is the spot you need to be?
Yeah. So it has evolved for sure. The first veteran that we scholared into our Sandler program, Justin, was also we trained him to be a trainer for Sandler. Everybody that trains has to be trained in the Sandler system because that's what the core of our curriculum is. So it's interesting because in the very beginning, it was myself, my husband, and Justin that would train. It was, well, what a 3-week program. We had a graduation in our office, what we have now, and you haven't seen it yet, but it's about as big, it's smaller than this backyard porch. And we put on music, like the music of a graduation, and we put it
Yeah.
on a cell phone. And we had 4 people shake hands of our 2 board members that we had. And it was just incredible. It was life-changing. But Justin, who's no longer with us, he moved on to some other things. We paid him a small salary. My husband and I donated all of our time. And then 3 years into the business is when I took over as CEO and started to really form the organization to have more employees. I have 9 employees right now, and we're growing. We're expanding not just to Tampa, but we're going to be in Memphis next year. So yes, yeah, we're looking at some really amazing things. So God willing, we do serve the whole United States because we have an online platform. So they come from all over, actually all over the world. We had somebody in Australia last year. We had somebody from Saudi Arabia this year that was on active duty. We do take active duty as long as they're in their close to their terminal leave. We've gotten more and more active duty members calling us because our folks are deployed out to the bases to teach everybody at TAPS and all the other organizations that are out there. And we help each other. So, we don't do this alone. We're not a silo. I believe that we partner with Cohen Veteran Network. We partner with Wounded Warrior Project. And you give me a good veteran service organization that's doing good things, and I want to know who they are and talk to them so we can work together, because we cannot possibly serve everybody and give them everything they need.
I think that's what's slowly becoming my favorite part of Jacksonville. Ever since I've started the nonprofit series of PB and Jacks, is we do have a good amount of veteran nonprofits. Some of them are in the early stages and maybe some aren't mature yet, but it seems like there's a lot of strategic alliances, if you will. The Stephen A. Cohen Clinic, fantastic.
Yes.
Wounded Warrior, we're super well known. Canines for Warriors is a big one. But it seems like if your lane, let's say Operation Uniform's lane is to help people in their second career, but somebody's they need a different resource for what they're going through at the time, and it's not a job resource. I do really appreciate the fact that everybody here seems to be like, okay, listen, like this is not our niche, but I can tell you exactly who does this and does it at the highest level, and I'll make an introduction for you right now. And
That is correct.
yeah, we do a really good job of that here, and obviously you're a big part of that, so thank you.
Oh my gosh. We have to. I got to tell you a story. Can I interrupt you for one second? So I went to lunch yesterday with a woman who's new in town. She's been here about 5 months. And I went to a restaurant at the town center. And you may know Chris Miller, who is our city councilman at large. His wife, Char Miller, works for me, and she's amazing. And there's a gentleman that hangs out at one of the restaurants at the town center. And she said, give this card to him. He's always there. Just, can you give him this, thank you card to him? I said, sure. Went to the restaurant. This woman who's new in town we're chatting. And I asked the barmaid, I said, excuse me, do you know who this gentleman is? She said, yes. And I walked over and said, I want to introduce myself. This card is from you. Told him who it was from. He said, I love Char and Chris. They're amazing. And they're a staple in this town, as you know. Everybody knows them. I went back and sat down. We started chatting. And she was saying, everybody in this town, since I moved here, is so nice. I said, I know. When I first moved here 25 plus years ago, my husband and I thought we were in a cult because everybody was so nice. Well, after we got done eating, she and I are bickering about who's going to take a check. I'm like, I'm taking the check. I invited you. And she's like, no, no, no. And the barmaid comes over and says, you don't have to fight. That gentleman bought your lunch. So that's just a little example of everybody genuinely cares here. Isn't that weird? I mean, it's a small example, but just an example of she goes, who does that? I'm like, people in Northeast Florida do that. That's who we are. We care enough about each other. He knew you were new in town. He just met me. He wanted to show that we care.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Well, also, who writes notes like that?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't really happen in a lot of places. So you're right. I think we're in a really good spot for that. And obviously with the 2 bases, Kings Bay, Cecil Field, stuff like that, we have a really deep appreciation for the veterans that are here. And I think now we're starting to find out, when you and I have spoken about this, we're starting to find out how to better take care of them as they transition out. The respect was always there, but we didn't know what we didn't know previously on how, what was missing in these people's lives and how we can better serve them. But through things like Operation Uniform, where we can help them better, meld into civilian life. Huge win. I was just talking to a veteran officer earlier today, and we were talking about, because the Fire Watch and the amazing work they're doing. My goodness. And when I was doing the episode with Nick Allen, he said, we were looking at the stats, and I said, hey, based on your purview, based on the data that you're looking at, is it fair to say that the number of suicides that you're seeing in veterans are in a particular age range that would coincide with their transition out of the service and into civilian life. And he said 100% that is the bulk. And so that paints a story right there. And you mentioned TAPS class earlier, and I don't mind sharing this publicly. Like I think TAPS needs to be overhauled. When you're a vet and you're sitting in a classroom and you're like nervous as hell that you're about to get, put into a civilian world, in a world you're just not very familiar with. And then they come inundate you for a week with, you need to do this, you need to do that. Here's paperwork. Here's this flyer. Here's this business card. And you get out there, you're like, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
And I know we're going to unpack this here in a second, but listen, this is a program. Like, we're not coming in here, we're not handing you a flyer and saying like, visit this website. Like, you get admitted into the program, we're going to teach you a ton. You're going to have to graduate from this program. And then by doing that, you're going to be in a huge position to succeed in this new world. So I hope we get to overhaul TAP soon, but the fact that a program like ONU exists and hopefully other sectors pick this up, I'm very pleased. I want to talk about that. How did we go from we're going to train somebody and we're going to scholar somebody and we're going to do this and then turn it into the program that it is today, where people apply? It's kind of a classroom. It's like a cohort.
Yeah. So we don't allow more than 15 people in a class. And we do that intentionally, whether it's online or whether it's face-to-face. And the reason for that is it's your best learning environment. You get to know each other. You get to trust each other. Think about that. You're a veteran. You know, when you came out, who do you trust? What do you do? How do I navigate this thing? And, when you talk to Nick Howland about the Fire Watch, there were some statistics. I don't know if you said it here, but how long it takes for a veteran to get stuck and contemplate things that they shouldn't be thinking about. And we know the veteran suicide rate is way too high. It doesn't matter what that number is, it's higher than it should be. But I put a lot of that into, and not just because of what we do, but I think about someone going home after serving and being, honorably discharged and sitting home going, what do I do? And what you've been told from the military, and I will never knock TAPS. Let me tell you why. They're doing the best they can do with the resources they have. And I tell our folks, if you got one thing out of it, if you learned about us from it, you got one thing better than what you would have had if you didn't have the program at all. So you learned your benefits, you learned what you needed to do. There are resources out there like ours and Canines and Wounded Warrior and, Cohen Veteran Network that are there, free resources and that are out here in what y'all call the civilian world, because we have the heart to do it. The military doesn't have the time or the resources to give you all what you need when you leave. That's my feeling. So how did I get there? The one thing you're going to find, and it's so amazing. One of my programs people came into my office yesterday and she goes, Michele, I have to tell you something. I was like, what? She goes, this gentleman called recently out of the military and he asked me a bunch of questions about our program. And I took the time to talk to him and he said, you're the first organization that I feel actually cared. Now, she goes, I don't know if we can help him or not. She goes, but just to hear that, to know that we can help him find the resources. We might not be the one you're not going to sit in our classroom or be online with our program, but we're going to help you find the resource you need. That's all I can say. I can promise you this. I might not have you in my class or in our class, but we're going to make sure that you get to the resources you need. So it's evolved. It's a God thing. We get to be his hands and feet every single day. We thank God. We pray before our meetings. And we're very intentional about knowing that this isn't about us helping anybody be successful. Because I can tell you, we have a 97% success rate, not because of anything I've done or anything my staff has done. We just listen really well to what we're supposed to be doing, and we do it. There are days we don't, and those things happen. But for the most part, when we do it, we have really good outcomes.
I mean, I obviously, it's an incredible success rate. 97% in anything is wonderful. I'd love to talk about what the cohort, what they get into whenever they are admitted into the program. So let's say Randall Thomas was admitted into the April 1st cohort, the class. What would I expect when I show up on my first day? How long is it? what do things look like after graduation, and just for any veteran that might say, "Hey, man, I really want to check out this PB and Jax episode. Wow, that Operation New Uniform sounds awesome." Like, what could they expect if they were to apply and get accepted?
So it's a little tricky because I don't want to give away our secret sauce.
Okay, you don't have to go. You don't have to go too
I'm
deep.
I'm joking. But day number 1, we don't let any visitors come into our class. Day number 1, we're just getting to know them and they're getting to know us. We say things that are so different than what you'll hear in the world. Like, we tell every student that we love them, and the minute they're in that room, they become our family. And that we won't leave them until they find that career, and we're still not going to leave them after that. So those are things you don't hear very often. And we tell them that you might go through one career, you might go through 2 or 3, and we're going to be here for each and every one. We have great alumni programs. And you're in this space because you're supposed to be here. God intentionally put you here for a reason. And while you're here, you're going to have to work. And we tell them they're going to have to be willing and able to do the things that we teach them to do. And then we're going to teach them a system. This Sandler training system it's not anything that they've heard before, because who's teaching anybody how to sell themselves? And I mean, sell themselves with a system. So I know our military loves systems, right? So we give them a system from bonding and rapport to upfront contract. We're going to teach them pain. What are the emotional reasons why people would hire you? Budget. What is the budget? Do they have the budget to hire you? Right? Decision. Who are the decision makers? Who beside them do I need to talk to? And why would they want to hire me? I'm going to tell them and teach them how to ask really good questions, not sit in there like, yes, ma'am, no, sir. Because by the way, if they call me ma'am, they all know that I'm going to get upset with them because I'm from Jersey. And it's an insult if you call somebody from Jersey ma'am. You just called me old. It's like calling, hey, old lady, come over here.
In the South, it's such like a requirement. That's
I
what's crazy.
know. I just have to fight with you Southern boys and girls and say, it's okay. Because the minute you call me ma'am, you've made me the adult and you the child. So we teach something called transactional analysis and how to understand to have an adult conversation. And when you do that, now we could talk about, hey, I have a millionaire mindset. I don't need the money. I'm not going to go into any interview feeling stressed out. I'm going to go into an interview feeling like, you know what? It's okay if this isn't a good fit for either of us, but let's figure that out together. So are you okay, Randall, if I ask you some questions during this process?
It's the abundance mindset. That's
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And they don't come in with an abundance mindset. For one thing, if you've never had to negotiate a salary, you will never be comfortable in it until you have the right mindset. Everything in Sandler is all about attitude first. Think about what's going on in your head. We got to get that straight first. We have other people that help us, like Cohen, if there's any other issues that you need to address. We're not psychiatrists. We're certainly here to help you just figure out how to get this career and give you back your self-confidence. So how to get that back is empowering.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you see people in the 3rd and the 4th day going, oh my gosh, I never knew I could do that. I didn't know I could ask questions in an interview except till the end. It's like, no, what if you made it a conversation? So they're going to learn things of a system. So now you feel, when you don't have a system, you feel scared, right? When you have a system, you feel more confident.
Yeah.
So fear is, in my book, the absence of faith, but it's also the absence of a process. I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen next. Well, guess what? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen next. You're going to be in control. And when you leave, you'll be able to debrief and know what the next steps are. So every interview you go in, the only thing I care about are, what are the next steps? Ask good questions, find out what happens next. And if you're a good fit, you could talk about what's next. If you're not, you can gracefully say, thank you very much for your time. I don't think this is going to be a good fit. I may know somebody that would be. Would you be okay with me referring them to you? Right?
I mean, yeah, at 100%. I'm thrilled that you teach this, because I can tell you firsthand, and I guarantee you, your students have told you this too. When you're in the service, and like let's say you stand in front of a board, or you're doing any kind of an interview with somebody of influence or a decision making individual, you don't negotiate anything. If anything, you're trying to give the best answer possible so that they'll like or respect you, but then you move on to the next question. In the military, it's top down. There's no like back and forth, right? In the civilian world, obviously there is a chain of command in corporations, but once again, you bring a value to the table that they need, or else they wouldn't be talking to you.
Right.
So for you to make them aware of that, especially early on in the transition process, is a massive, massive value add to them and their psyche.
So you want a couple examples?
I would love a couple examples.
They're all my favorite. All my veterans are my favorite. But this one gentleman called me the other day. Actually, he wrote a note to the team and said, I was moving back to his hometown. He had an interview. He wrote, it wasn't a traditional interview, but I had, I felt confident with all my Sandler stuff. I knew I was going in there with all my ONU stuff that I'd learned. And I felt confident with that. And it was a lunch. And he said, I didn't say ma'am or sir. And he goes, and then the guy called me sir, and Michele gave me permission to mirror. So it was okay if he said sir. So I called him sir back. So he was good there. He and I talked before the interview and talked a little bit about salary. I said, what happens? What are you looking for? He said, I'll just be happy if I get 100. I said, just be happy. So we're going to settle. Tell me a little bit about that. He goes, well, I don't think they'll give me more than 100. You don't understand where I'm moving to. I said, I do understand where you're moving to. And I understand the company you're going to be moving to, potentially move, your career to. So why 100? He goes, well, because he almost said, I'm not worth more than that. And I challenged him. I said, listen to me. I want you to go in there and I want you to say your range is between 110 and 125. And he was like, Michele, I don't think you understand. I'm like, here we go. I've only heard this 650 times, right? For as many veterans as we've had. I'm just asking you to trust me. So in the letter, he writes, he told them the range and they came back with an offer. They fell in love with them. They came back with an offer. Remember, his top was 125. They came back with 130 plus a truck, plus all the benefits.
So what was holding them up? Like what was, I assume, and I know what happens when you assume, that when you go through the value conversation, the compensation conversation, and by the way, all of this is making my little recruiter heart sing. So, there's a skill set and a marketplace, and there's a range that the market pays for the skill set. And so how I teach candidates is, listen, like I have 10 years of this, and this. The market is paying this. This is what I would accept, right? Like it's not like I feel. You have to remove the words I feel, right? The feel's got to go. So it's a big thing I teach. So I am kind of interested if he was like, I don't think you understand where I'm going or what my career is going to do or whatever. I assume that he did a little bit of research.
Sure. But
and
as
so
you know,
was this a limiting belief?
It's self-limiting belief. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And I'm sure you see that all the time in recruiting.
I do.
My goal is to get them, first of all, out of their comfort zone. Also know that everything's negotiable. What's the worst they can say? No, right? The worst they can say is no. The worst they can do is come back with something lower than what you thought. He could have come back at 90 and you said, thank you very much. I'm going to look elsewhere because it doesn't fit within your budget. Don't be afraid to say no. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, as you know. And if they're not willing to pay the money that you deserve, please be okay to walk away. And it's a hard lesson, especially when somebody, and I use our veterans, for example, but you work with all people, but to be able to get that in their head, don't fall in love with the job. Don't fall in love with the job. Find out if it's the right fit. And it's got to be money, culture, time. You can go work at, and I'm not bashing Amazon. They'll tell you today, you can go work at Amazon right out of the door from a veteran and they'll make 120 to 130 out of the gate. But you're not going to have weekends. You're not going to have nights. You're not going to have family time. You're going to have the holidays. But go ahead. You'll make that kind of money right out of the gate. No questions asked. But is that the way you want to live? Right? So we have these conversations. What do you want? We talk about your hell knows, if I'm allowed to say that,
Absolutely.
and what you really, really want. So what do you want? Do you want to work inside? Do you want to work outside with your hands? Do you want to be at the computer? Do you want to have a hybrid situation? And we find all that out. I mean, we even have entrepreneurs. What do you want to do? Do you want to have your own business? So let's talk about what that looks like. There are amazing loans and amazing opportunities for first-time veterans to buy an organization, to buy a franchise. You can buy a franchise. Did you know that? And you get great, great rates and things. People will help you. They'll come out of the woodwork. But one final thing before I forget. The other thing that we say the first day, which they've never heard of before, is that our network is your network. So, Randall, now you're part of my network. So you're in big trouble because now you have to be a resource to them and you
Yep.
have to let them know that and be available to them. Because I tell them, everybody on the board, you get immediately on LinkedIn and you introduce yourself on LinkedIn and ask to connect with them. And then you look at their network. So when you're out looking for a career and you like something over at J&J or Haskell or, Bank of America, who's connected to them? And I promise you, if they're sitting in that room and I tell them, you're only sitting here because I'm open to opening up my network, all my board is open to opening up their network to you because they care and they want to see you succeed. So is that happening everywhere, Randall? I don't know.
Well, I can tell you it's not. Obviously, very important piece of the thing. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And
Exactly.
yeah, and I wanted to touch on why this is so incredibly important, and just to put a bow on this conversation about self-worth and self-value and marketplace. When you're in this service, like there's only one way to get promoted. You're in the same job and you get an evaluation and then you take a test, and like that's how they tie their worth to you. And if you don't do well in the test, or if you don't get an evaluation that you thought you deserved and you don't get promoted, like that is a demeaning process, and it's tough. So when you get into these interviews, especially when you're transitioning and you say like, I'll take this, or I'm okay with this, or I feel like this, it's literally because the way to get promoted in the service has beaten them into the point where you'll accept what I'll give you and you'll like it. And so listen, I've been out for 11 years, so it probably took me 9 to learn the marketplace conversation. So you can see, like, for somebody like me that's in the business world, for it to take me that long to really appreciate you bringing a value to the table and then exchanging that for a certain, pool of money and benefits and everything else that's included with it. It took a long time for me to realize, like, sure, there's a ton of people that do what I do. I don't know if they do it the way I do it, and I don't know if they do it as good as I do it. But for me to exchange my skills to you and my time, I need this back. So yeah, I'm going to beat a dead horse and saying I'm glad that you guys are doing what you're doing, because that is such a critical conversation for these people to hear.
I love that I'm looking at the logo at the top of your screen. It says Think Bold.
Hmm.
And, the limited mindset baffles me on some of these. Now, these are very educated people that come through our program. I'm not talking about, one that's coming in. I'm talking about, E4 and above, all the way to the commanding officer of
Officers,
Mayport.
yeah.
These are people that are, they come in and they're like, I never knew I even needed this till I got here. And we take the rank away. That first day, you asked me what it's like. That first day, we're like, look, I'm not military. You can tell me what rank you are, and I don't care. The
Mhm.
business community doesn't
Doesn't
care.
care.
And I hate to tell you that, but they don't care. So
They don't
you
care.
have to stand out and tell what you did in a language that I understand. So my credibility for not being a veteran to be able to stand up in front of you and people that have served is only that I'm the business community looking to hire you. And I can tell you what they're looking for. If you speak another language, if you talk to me in acronyms and you call me ma'am and do all this other stuff that I don't understand, or you say you're going to go to the head or whatever, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now, you raise your hand to go to the bathroom, I'm going to knock you down. And
The
I
head.
joke about it, but the truth is, don't talk to me that way. Unfortunately for you, all the years you served, and I'm so grateful that you did. My husband and I can't do enough to be able to say how grateful we are. But the business community is not going to change for them. You have to change for the business community if that's what your desire is. So it's a hard lesson. And sometimes it makes me want to cry because I think about what you all have done for us. And then here we are. We don't adapt for you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that. Were you a part, or was Owen you a part of the veteran stand down event that took place last month at the fairgrounds? Are you familiar with that?
We were there.
Okay,
Yep.
so Chris Budahas and I were there, and we're looking at all these nonprofits, and these people are just doing amazing work with veterans. And so we walked in, and we were there to just like, for me, it's like, hey, how can I help amplify your voice? Chris was doing the same thing, and they had stations for veterans who needed a shower, needed clothes, needed food, needed a haircut. And I was like, man, that's really nice. It's really nice. Like, we're doing this. And I was like, okay, there's maybe a handful of people that need these outer services, but here, like, they'll really hone in on the nonprofit work, the people who are helping you like select your benefits, and people that are doing like gun safety training, and the people that are doing mental health counseling, stuff like that. I was like, that's going to be like the bulk of this. And then I see this line, Michele, this line wrapped around the building of people who needed a haircut and needed a shower and needed socks. They were handing out socks. And I'm like, how the hell are we in a position in this city of all cities that these people are in a position that they have to come to the fairgrounds to get some socks? I was so mad. I'm still mad, by the way.
You can tell.
Yeah. So I'm trying really hard to, like, obviously meet with as many veteran nonprofits and as many veterans as possible to make a little bit of a dent, maybe drive some community towards rectifying this issue. But you were just saying, like, for the veterans, they leave home and they go in deployment and they come home and they get out of the service, and some of them have no idea what to do with themselves, and some of them end up living under a bridge, and it's hard. It's a hard thing for me to compute. It really is.
Yeah, I get it. We had a student in our last class, and we didn't know he was unhoused. It's not very common for the folks that come through our program, but very highly educated, fell on hard times, just was going through a rough time, and just ended up being unhoused. We didn't know this, and the first day of class, apparently he was living downtown. He didn't know the bus system really well, and he got on the wrong bus to get to our office.
Oh my God, this is breaking my heart.
He got about 10 miles away from us and hoofed it to our office, right? There were multiple things that he needed, but nobody knew when he walked in the door. He was just like everybody else. He sat down. Everybody welcomed him with open arms. Again, just another veteran coming through the program. We found out he needed a lot more resources, and it's amazing what his classmates did for him. He just would get a phone that he could afford, $20 here and there. They pitched in and got him a phone. He had a chipped tooth, and I'll tell you how God works. After I met him and saw that and talked to him and said he had limited resources and couldn't get it fixed. He was in a car accident and it broke. My husband and I went out to dinner that night, and at the bar was sitting my dentist. What are the odds? Who was a veteran? And I went up to him and I said, what are the odds that you'd be willing to help out a veteran in need? He goes, give him my cell phone number. And he took care of it. It's been miracle after miracle. Comcast came and donated 15 laptops for that class. He got a laptop. He didn't have one. He was walking to the library every day and trying to figure out how he can get himself a laptop. Since our class, he got a career. He's moving into his own place. He's getting his child back and got his tooth fixed. A rock star. I mean, you just never know, right?
You can't sit here and tell me the veteran community is not the best community, man. I just thank you for sharing that. It makes me smile, but I'm also not surprised by any of it. I'm just, hoof. So,
right?
Yeah, great work, Michele, and to your team and to your dentist and to your class. I'm telling you, yeah, the veteran community is the best community. None of that surprises me in the slightest. And for them to have their brothers back in a time of need kind of tells you exactly who we are, right? So for those that go through the course, obviously they get brothers and sisters for life, right? I'm sure in this cohort they come out of this thing great friends, and they root for each other. And what does that look like at the end? What does graduation look like? And then I don't know if it's placement services or if it's introductions or if they have a job before they graduate the program. Like, can you walk through the back half of the program?
So some do. Some get careers right when they're with us. We ask them in the very beginning, the first week or so, to not apply for anything. We ask them if first of all, you're never allowed to send out a resume blind. And you know what I mean by that.
I do.
If you don't know somebody in the organization or haven't reached out to us to help you make a connection, do not, do not send out a resume. If they don't have a recruiter that's helping them like you, that would help walk them through the process and find a connection that's going to be a good fit, do not send out a resume. So all day, every day, that's pumped into their heads because we ask them, and you can poll everyone that's been through our class. How many resumes, first day, how many resumes have you sent out and how many responses did you get? I've had things from hundreds, from 50 to hundreds of resumes sent out and zero response or thank you very much. You're overqualified. You're underqualified. You're this, you're that. You know why people are sitting home at their computers scared to death? Because of our ATS systems, because of all the systems.
Brutal.
You send a resume out and you don't get a real person. And I think most of our veterans don't know that. So until you could talk to a live person that will physically or pick up the phone or email a friend to say, hey, I know this guy or a girl. They're amazing. They're a veteran. They just got out there needing some help. Can you make some connections? Then they're going to sit home and do what they've been doing all along. And that's sad. So that's what it looks like early on. We make connections with you. We encourage every recruiting company, every company that's hiring, every employer that is looking for amazing talent to come to our graduation. And our graduation is their last day. We invite the community to come out. It's usually at either UNF or another business place that we have, but usually UNF. And we have somewhere between 100 and 150 people show up. And we get a guest speaker, someone that's usually involved in the community. We had Lee Smith from the Players speak at our last one, and he did a phenomenal job just talking about how the PGA Tour and the Players gives back to our veteran community. And with the Players coming up soon, I mean, this is a big deal. So can I tell you another success story? So Lee
I'd
Smith,
love to. Tell them all. Tell
he
every one
was,
of them. Let's go.
was so impressed by our graduates at that class. He invited 15 students, and they will be sitting at the front row at the military appreciation on Tuesday at the Players, the front row of the ceremony. And then they'll be escorted to a chalet to enjoy the concert. So all of our students from that class are going to be there, right? Amen.
And they
Amen.
deserve it. And they deserve it.
To deserve it. Every one of them. I wish I could have all 650 of them, but they're going to be there. And typically at a graduation, we've had people get hired on the spot. You can talk to this gentleman, Tim, who was a former board member. I have 3 board members that are ONU alumni that work at companies.
Wow.
And I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't.
They've graduated from our program. Tim was in a graduation years ago, and Mike Jones from First Citizens was there at the graduation and went up to him afterwards, said, I don't have a position, but I'm hiring you. He was that impressed and hired him. He's been there now. It's got to be 5 years and has been promoted at least 3 times. Amazing. So these are our partners that are there at the graduation. They are there knowing they're going to get great talent, and they hire them some right on the spot or at least set up the interviews for a future date. Our guest speakers are usually amazing. This year, we're going to have Lieutenant Colonel Alan West in October. He's going to be speaking. He is an honorary board member. And we're going to have Senator Collins, who helps with our appropriations ask through the state of Florida. We're looking, we have, 3 or 4 others that are just simply amazing. So they're there to support what ONU does. They're not there to promote what they do or who they are. They could care less about that. They want our students to know that they're special and they're amazing. And I don't want to start crying.
But I mean, you're spot on. They're all those things, and so are all the other vets too. How many graduations? What you said kind of spurred a question here. How many graduations do you guys do a year?
So we do 5 classes in Jacksonville. We do 1 graduation in Tampa, and then we do, I think it's 4. I don't have the number exactly in front of me. Online classes and spouse classes, 2 spouse classes a year. So we want to encourage our spouses to be engaged as well, because I think they kind of get left behind. We want to help them find that career, especially if their husband or wife has now left the military and they're in one place. But even if they're not, if they're a spouse and your husband or wife are active duty and you're looking to just figure out how to get a good career or something that's going to make you feel fulfilled, come through our program. It's remarkable. It's similar to what we teach our veterans, but it's more tailored to the spouse life and what they go through. And then they have their own cohorts and their camaraderie. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, 100%. This is awesome. So I think so is the big ceremony, is it like all the classes graduate at once, or does every cohort get their own ceremony at UNF or wherever else you host them?
Every cohort gets their own.
Yeah. Okay. So they get to have their moment.
They get to have their moment, and they're all required. It's so funny. They're all required to speak at the graduation. They get 2 to 3 minutes to say who they are, what their experience was, and what they want to do in their career. So they get a chance to shine. But this last class, this young woman, oh, she's so cute. She looked at me and she goes, "Well, Michele, how are you going to teach me how to overcome my fear of public speaking?" I said, "Don't worry, we're going to give you plenty of opportunities to talk in front of this class until you feel so confident that when you get up there, you're going to rock it." And she did. And everybody does. Whether they're scared or not, they don't show it up there. It's amazing.
That's incredible. Going kind of like sliding back to the TPC stuff with the job fair that's coming up. Is there any involvement there for ONU
Oh,
to
yeah.
help these cohorts get in front of some other employers?
So I love that question because I just found out yesterday we're going to have 9 alumni in ONU polos at the job fair, helping work the table. So we're there every year. We've been there from the beginning, but they'll be working our table plus walking around. If any of them are still career seekers, they'll be able to go talk to those that are looking to hire people. It's a great event. If there is a veteran looking or listening to this right now, you need to go. It's free and it's at the military outpost and it's right on the course and it's amazing. So we'll be there. I'll be there walking around saying hi to everybody. Are you going to be there?
Well, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Good. So I'll be able to meet you in person
Yeah. Well, and I know that we're going to have other opportunities to do that.
for sure.
Obviously, we talked about the Cohen Clinic a minute ago. I'm sure a future JMVC or JVMC, Jacksonville JMVC event, I'm sure. And then I don't know if we're wanting to spill the beans on moving headquarters here, but there might be an opportunity for us to sync up whenever you make that move. There's a lot of opportunity, but you can bet your bottom dollar that we'll definitely cross paths at TPC this year.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'll be wearing a different color jacket. It'll
Okay,
be red instead of orange.
that works. You'll typically see me in navy blue. It might be this polo. I got the PB and Jax logo working
Nice.
here, so I like to at least represent it where I can. I know we're somewhat button up on time, so I want to make sure I get all the information out I can. Is there anything about ONU that we haven't touched on? Obviously, it's a program for vets, transitioning vets. New uniform is a way to get them into their new career path now that they're civilians. Is there anything about the program, anything about the nonprofit, anything about the students, or anything that we haven't touched on that we would deem to be important?
Yeah, so a couple things. We do have a screening process. You have to go online. If you're a veteran or a military spouse, go online and apply. The one thing we do require and we don't sway on is you have to be honorably discharged. You have to show your DD 214. If you're active duty and you don't have your paperwork yet, we just, talk to you about what command you're at and those things. Those questions are asked all online. For military spouses, they have to go online and fill out an application as well. The main thing that we're looking for is if you're willing and able. I know people that are willing that aren't able, and I know people that are able and aren't willing. You have to have both to be able to go through this program. Because if you're looking for a job, that's okay. We'll get you to the resources that'll help you get there. But if you're looking for a career that is life changing, that is going to make you feel excited when you get up in the morning, that's going to be fulfilling, like maybe like what you felt out when you served in the military, or maybe something that you could just imagine's out there, but you don't know how to get there. Call us, email us, or go online, I should say. Forget about what I said, call and email. Go right to the website, fill out the application, and we'll figure out if we're the right fit for you and vice versa. We want to make sure that we're not just serving just anybody. You have to be the right person to come through. The 97% success rate is truly there because we're only 50% of the equation. You have to be the other 50%. You have to put the work in. You're going to have homework. You're going to have things that you have to do. You have to go to networking events. If you don't like doing that, you either get over your fear or we figure out something else, or maybe you're not a good fit for this program. And that's okay. We'll help you find something else if we can. We promise. The VA downtown, Harrison Conyers is an amazing man. He's doing great things down there. Contact the VA down there. They'll do what they can to help you and get the right resources. If there's mental health issues and things that you're just not sure, if you're right in the right state of mind right now, please call Cohen Veteran Network. It's a free resource, and they're just incredible over there. Wounded Warrior Projects, I can't say enough good things. Call them. They will help you. If you're looking for a job, if you're looking for just some resources, they'll help you with that. Canines for Warriors is another great one. I just love them over there. If you need a service dog, they're doing really, really good things to help more veterans. They have been backlogged for a long time, but I think they're starting to get more resources to be able to help. So that's just to name a few. Um, our heart is here for them. If I could speak directly to our veterans and military spouses, we want you to know you are loved and you're cared for, and that we care here about you. The average salary for someone that graduates our program, I don't know if you know this, Randall, is $94,000.
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty
So
damn good.
it's pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good.
And, you got to be in that mindset to know you're worthy of making that. And you will.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll ask this. How can Randall or the city of Jacksonville or the veteran community or the non-veteran community, how can we help Michele? How can we help ONU?
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. There's little ways, and it's time, talent, and treasure. This is what a typical nonprofit would say. Volunteer. We'd love for you to get involved some way, shape, or form. We have a new volunteer coordinator. We were blessed to get a VISTA grant. So that the state is helping us to have someone who's full-time employee to be our volunteer coordinator. And we just love it. She's just starting. We're going to have a volunteer meeting, which means if you don't know what you want to do, but you want to help, we're going to have a big meeting, get you all together and say, these are your opportunities. What would you like to do? We want to get you plugged in. So that is volunteering. Time, that's your time, your talent. We want to know what you're talented at, what you want to do to help. And then treasures, of course. Everybody's looking for donations. I believe, God has blessed us and will continue to, but money is important. So
Yeah,
if we have something as little as a loyalty brigade member, so 24 for 24, $24 for 24 months would be a great help to us. If you go online, you can click donate and see that. If you can have the heart and want to give more, we would love to help you with that. But if you're a business or a company that wants to really partner with an organization that not just cares about our veterans who we serve, we care about our partners, and we want to get the word out about you. And we find very creative and wonderful ways to get the word out about you and what you do and how you're partnering with us. So join an event. We have our Veterans Cup, April 11th. We do a clay shoot. I'm one of those crazy women that loves to shoot.
Okay.
I'll be out there. Congressman Rutherford will be out there, and 200 other people. We love it. It's a blast, and we're taking sponsorships right now. And the other one is we're going to have a golf tournament in October, which is called our Patriot Games. And we'll be at Marsh Landing this year. So these are ways you can get involved. We are so excited. I feel so honored that you asked me to be on your program. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, thank you for being on. I know you're busy. So to take the time to be here means a lot. Obviously, I also want to get the word out to as many veterans as I can and what you're doing.
Please.
And then for your events, I'd love to post about them and help you get the word out. And I'm not a clay shooter, but I am a golfer. So you'll probably see me in October.
Great.
Outside of that, I'm a recruiter. So whatever you need, please pick up the phone and call me. If you want me to review resumes with these folks or do interview prep, I'm more than happy to do it. So utilize me.
We will. You've got to be careful what you wish for.
I know. All right, Michele. Well, once again, thank you for all you do. I speak for Jacksonville. I speak for veterans. Thank you for what you do with ONU. And thank you for doing what you do for the city of Jacksonville.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.